Okay. So I'm just going to recap quickly the random walk behavior, and then we'll think about this again. Okay, good. So, right, simple game. Just going to flip coins. You can think of left, right, heads, tails, whatever you like, or plus, just simply plus or minus 1 on a one-dimensional grid. And there's time, right? So we're just wondering where this thing's going. And here are these 4 examples we started with. And the piece we got to, and this is work in the assignment, is to show that the expected location of your walker after so many steps will be a normal distribution. And that normal distribution will spread out. And the standard deviation of the normal distribution will grow as square root of n, right? Where n is the number of time steps. So it grows slowly, but it expands. And so that square root of n is a really fundamental scaling that you see in diffusion of all kinds. Diffusion is the most basic kind of spreading, right? Most basic, simple kind of spreading. Usually it just means things flatten out, but it has interesting behavior on networks, which we'll talk about a little bit. It's different on networks. Networks show you actually fundamentally what diffusion is. It's about the edges and not locations. All right, so we had that, and then the piece we'll talk about today is the first return of a random walk, right? So you could say we're equal at this point, almost comes back to being tied, and then back here is a tie, right? So this is the time between equal scores. And early on, right, there's a whole bunch of equal scores, so you think you're pretty good at competing against this machine or whatever you're flipping coins with, but then get into trouble here. Now you think you're a genius, right? But there are very strange behaviors in here. And as I said the other day, on Thursday, that the expected time between equal scores is infinity. And that's a really odd thing. It's just a random walk. And as I said, square root of t, right? It's not, or square root of n. It's not really it's not going crazy. But it's enough to get an infinite mean for times between equal scores. All right, so things like displacement, the average place that you'd think they'd be in would be 0, just back at the origin. And this is where we got our square root of t, for the t for the variance and square root of t for the standard deviation. Okay. Plinko, we had Plinko action. And this is a piece that hopefully you've looked at a little bit. It's a binomial. This is the number of walks between I and j, location x equals I, location x equals j, or you can think of number of heads minus number of tails, however you want to, whatever that score is, that takes t time steps, has this form. All right, we can talk about that in office hours. Okay, so we went through this, and yeah, so this is a beautiful thing to get to, some delicate work in getting there, perhaps. But it's really about taking this binomial, so it's 2n, choose n plus k, and digging into it, and there's you don't have to derive certain parts in here, of course. So the big thing that we use in there is Stirling's approximation, which is how factorials behave for large n factorial for large n. If you might come across that would be kind of an applied math thing, perhaps to derive that. It's okay, you don't have to do it, but it is a beautiful thing. Okay, all right, very nice. Okay.